Okay, this is the intro. This is the intro episode, and what I would like to explain in this intro episode is what the show is basically going to be about. Because this is going to be a little bit different because there are some shows that are very polarizing. They're going to be, all the way to the right, all the way to the left, or whatever. Uh, their side can do no wrong, right? That's not going to be how this show is going to be run. This show is going to be people that are more towards the center. You may lean left or you may lean right, but people that kind of have common sense. It'll be a lot of political analysis in here and just analysis of what's going on in the world and what could be possibly happening. Because I do a lot of independent research, and it's a good thing to try to put that out there because we're in bad shape right now. We're definitely in bad shape, and it seems like politics has become so divisive now, right? We're so far apart, divided, right? I actually, I give you a little personal anecdote, right? I actually went to a family event, and everybody over there was a Democrat, right? Far right Democrat. I mean, far left Democrat, right? And they're not, they're not. They say that Democrats are a lot of times, they go for social program. These are well-to-do people, right? These guys have money and things going on, right? So I went over there, and I was basically talking about this. I before I haven't voted Republican before, to be honest with you, right? But if I had been home that day to vote, I would have voted for Trump, because he just seemed like the better candidate for me, right? And it didn't make sense. I couldn't figure out any solid position on Kamala's, what she was going to do in the presidency. She just didn't seem like the person for the job. That's my personal opinion, right? And I expressed that opinion. Oh my God. They went ballistic on me. How could you do that? Trump is against people of color and all that kind of stuff, which is not true. He never was, he wasn't considered racist or anything like that until until he decided to get into politics. So I don't I don't subscribe to that, right? Now it could go either way. It could go either way with me, but right now it seems to me, this is my personal opinion, right? It seems to me that because I see a lot of videos on how the Democrats used to say a lot of things that the Republicans are saying now, right? They were tough on border security. You can even see people like their stars, like Hillary Clinton saying things like that, the Clintons saying things like that, right? But now that the Republicans are in power, it completely flip flop. And it just seems like my aunt, wonderful person, right? Wonderful person. But she told me, she said, MAGA is like a cult. But I could see how she could come to that conclusion, right? In her view is that people that are in MAGA would support anything Trump says, which is not true, right? Which is people do a lot of critical thinking on this side of on the conservative side, right? But it's more like, to me, on that side, on the Democratic side, there's more of a cult like, it has more cult like features because they tell you who to hate. They tell you, like, if you don't agree with them, oh my God, you are the scum of the earth. Scum of the earth. And that's basically how I was treated. I had one elder in my family go ballistic on me, you know what I mean? But I held my ground, and I didn't, I just let it go because, it's an older person, and I didn't want this to go any further, and I didn't want to ruin the event by turning this into because we're family. We didn't want to do that, and it was for It was for a different purpose that we were there, and I didn't want to ruin that purpose, right? But I tell you, it's the it, and we couldn't even come to we can't even come to common ground. I got people on, on social media that say things that are just, and I try to break it down to them because I try to I try to be informed as possible on issues, right? As formed as I can possibly be, and I'll look at an issue and I'll see where, and I'll try to like do some research on it. And then, some people will come on me when I post something on, on social media, and they'll come at me, they'll say something all left field and I'll break it down to them. And even then, they can't even respect they can't even respect, well, because more to me, it's like they're fighting against Trump other than trying to get what is good for them. What's good for them out of their politicians. Get what's good for you out of your politician. But it's just, no, we have to fight Trump. Anything that Trump says, we're against. Anything that Trump says, we're against. Which I mean, I don't. I don't see how you can hate, like, he's the president, right? It doesn't matter because when Biden was in, only thing I said, the thing that I said was, you know, I just hope he does. I hope he does what's best for this country. Allow it, because the only thing I ask of politicians is, right, give me an environment where I can survive and live well. And jobs were not where it is. We're not where it's at, and and it's blue collar. And what I would say the last election was more about was like blue collar and between blue collar and white collar workers. And I get it, right? I get it, right? This AI stuff that's coming out here is hurting these white collar workers, right? They're under it. But the blue collars, like myself, it's a different day. It's a different day. They basically what they did was they thinned the herd, right? So there's gonna have to be a shift and reallocating people to the places that are needed. Because whether it was the Democrats or the Republicans that won in this climate, AI was coming. It was coming, and it was going to make an impact just as it is. It's just how it's just only how they were going to end up selling, this, the effects of AI. So, because I watched the thing with Joe Biden the other day, right? And when they were talking about the Iran war, when it was the Democrats in power, talking about the Iran war, and he said verbatim, they said, "Well, how long are the gas prices going to go up in this? While we're doing this?" And he said, "As long as it takes." Ah, for real. They're talking about it's an illegal war, and they say, "Hey, you guys took what's his name, Maduro from Venezuela, what, Gaddafi." I mean, are we going to ignore that? Are we going to ignore that? So there's a lot of that's where the show is going, because there's a lot of BS. There's a lot of BS out there, and there's a lot of spin doctor in it, and we can get down to it where, where's the center? Where, you don't have to be, because this is really upsetting people. And I see the way they promote it different ways on different news networks in different areas. And so because I keep a couple people around, on social media that are on, that are far right leaning, just so I can ask them. So I can ask, I mean, far left leaning. I'm sorry, far left leaning, just so I can ask them. I want to ask them, well, what are you looking at? What is your problem with Trump? I want to hear what they have to say, so I could say, oh, that does either. I could say, okay, well, I can see how you got to there, right? And I may or may not agree with it, or I could say, oh, they're reporting that completely differently from what I'm seeing. And that's important, and that's why I do, that's why I decided to start this show, because it is ridiculous. It is ridiculous how we are, they're dividing us, right? So I already went through who this show is for. So if you're towards the center, you know, uh, well, either it doesn't matter if you're right or left leaning, Democrat, Republican, or if you're towards the center and you're not too far out toward the right or too far out towards the left, this show is for you, right? If you're all the way over there and your party can do no wrong or anything like that, then that this show may not be for you. This may be somewhere that this may not be what needs to be done, right? And there are powers that be that it benefits them to keep us divided. Because if we're divided, and we're misinformed, we're just going to fight against each other, right? And it's not going to be we're not going to make anything productive out of this, and we won't be able to make good informed decisions because I mean, I try my best to listen to what they're saying too, and what the Democrats are saying, what they were saying before the election. And I couldn't go with anything they were saying. There was I tried to listen, and I tried to hear their point, and it's just the Republicans had a better, they were clear, concise in what they were going to do and how they were going to bring this country back. Because I tell you, during Biden time uh, blue collar workers were hurting. I am a blue collar worker, and blue collar workers were really hurting, right? Okay, so that's how I'm going to end this right here. I went on a little rant, and it was more just to give you an idea of what we're trying to do here. It's going to be like some political analysis. We'll talk. Maybe there'll be some jokes and things like that, right? But and really the show's going to come. It's not only going to be politics. It's a lifestyle show. Things that are going on in society, but a lot of things that we're talking because we have to come back to where we can somewhat agree, or we can somewhat come together. So that's why politics is at the forefront. But there'll be some lifestyle things. So give me a like, give me a describe, a subscribe. And please leave a comment. If you like what I'm doing, leave a comment. If you hate what I'm doing, think I'm full of crap, leave a comment. But always, thank you for your time and attention.